Recording in progress. Great. Okay, I'll start over. Welcome to this weekly non-duality Zoom with Don Garland and me. Thank you for coming. Please keep your microphones muted until invited to speak. This is being shared live on YouTube, so by asking your question, you are giving consent. We encourage you to raise your hand virtually after the brief introductions by unmuting yourself and turning on your camera. You can also type your questions in the chat, either on Zoom or in YouTube. What else is there to say? This is for entertainment purposes only. And just want to thank everyone for being here and for keeping your microphones muted. And we look forward to your questions. And if you can, turn on your camera and your microphone and ask them directly, that'd be great. Otherwise, you can type them in the chat. And with that, I'll ask Don Garland to give us an introduction to non-duality, please.
Okay, so non-duality, it's a kind of restoration of power. It's coming back to yourself. There is no self to come back to, but it's the withdrawal of the projection onto the other as the one who knows. It's the end, fundamentally the end of separation between the self and other. So the self is seen through, in the sense that what I take to be myself in this body, mind, organism collapses. So there's just oneness. So there's just oneness, and what that is love. So oneness is love, and that includes everything. And that there's no location for that. So there's no location for being. There's just whatever arises. There's just life, and the stillness is seen in life. The stillness and the sacred dimension is seen in life. So it's basically coming to rest. It's coming into a state of peace, at oneness with everything, and in loveness with everything. So it brings about some changes. So this is always the case. Everything is already realized. There's, in a sense, there's nothing to realize, but there is this apparent shift, because time exists in the timeless. We live in time. Experience is, everything is paradoxical in a sense. So nothing has changed, but everything has changed in a way as well. So it's, life goes on as before. Things have to be done. Life has to be lived. But there's no one doing that. So it's very often a lot of neurosis falls away in this, a lot of conflict, a lot of defenses, a lot of projection of, particularly of authority, that can dissolve. And yeah, so we were born into wholeness. This was already our birthright, and we were seduced out of it. And so this is the recognition. It is just basically a recognition that what we took, the identity, is no longer relevant. There is no identity. The voice in the head, which is what most people experience, but not all, that is not seen to be the self. That can be very much, very tricky to see through, I think, until this occurs, because it seems so much self-generated, but actually it's not. It's just arising from nowhere and dissolving. So that, and the sense of being inside or outside, that's just totally gone. So there's no here and there. There's no past, no future. There is just all the energy is kind of where you are. So obviously, if all the energy is where you are, it's much more, everything's more amplified, more beautiful. and the life more abundant, if you like. It's so all your living is done kind of here and now rather than in the head, in the past and the future. So obviously a lot of our conflicts are in time, a lot of our struggle is in time. The identity with the mind is the heart of most of our problems. So that's what collapses. And so this is freedom. It's not an absolute freedom, because life can still be shit, but there's no, again, there's no identity with that. So things pass through more quickly. It's much more just being. So even in a conversation, it's more about just the presence. It's words are exchanged, and that's beautiful. And the intimacy of that is beautiful, but it's the beingness really. That's at the forefront now. So in the story of time, there's before and after, obviously, but really nothing happened, and nothing ever will happen, and nothing ever did. So that's about it. That's about all I want to say on that for now.
Thank you, Don. And I'll just say something brief, because we have a lot of people here in the Zoom. When this separate identity was seen through, and it, I laugh when I use these words, because they're so like, it just sounds so goofy sometimes, but I don't know how else to describe it. But, seeing through the illusion of a separate self for no one. And it was always this way. It was always this sort of radiant, self-shining presence, beingness, isness, thusness, this indescribable. I was just speaking with Andrew Kirschbaum and talking about awareness, if you like. I don't have any preference for any of these words. It's unknowable. It's just this. It's just what seems to be happening. To no one, by no one. And it's just beautiful. Words fail, but radiant seems right. Radiant for no one. And that's indescribable. But there's no personal existence. There's no personal life. There's no separate individual life. There's no separate individual existence. It's just this one beautiful outpouring from the inexpressible no thing, appearing as everything, appearing as a Zoom meeting, appearing as a breeze I'm feeling on my back, and appearing as these sounds that I'm hearing, and everything within my immediate experience is just what's arising from this no thing, including this body, including this apparent mind, or these thoughts, or these everything. No thing being everything. That's the message. And could talk about all kinds of apparent experiences within the dream of separation. And I love all that. And I think it's valid, and I think it's beautiful to discuss, how the character can have a happier dream or a sort of awaken and all these things. But in the end, it's always already this. You know, there is no place to get to. It's a journey without distance. You know, there's a lot of cliches, pathless path, etc. Just because this is it. And it's a beautiful message. But I guess that's all I can say about non-duality right now. And with that, let's open it up for your questions or comments. Thank you. All right, we got one in the chat. What do you think about people who go on retreats, water fasts, anal cleansings, and gaze into the sun to reach a state of being? Well, like I said, it's always just this. It's you know, we were discussing earlier, it's always on. If you want to say, talk about awareness or something, it's so there's no like off. It's just so all that stuff I see is within the dream. So maybe going on a retreat will help you to see what's being discussed in this meeting. Maybe going on a retreat will bring about peace, calm. Maybe you'll learn some techniques. I think it's all good. I don't know about these water fasts. That sounds, I don't know anything about these things in particular, gazing at the sun. I'd wear sunglasses if I was going to do that. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on any of those topics, Don?
No, I mean, retreats are good. I think for people whose lives are hectic, it's good anyway, you know, that space, and they often get insights and glimpses could arise, or, you know, or just a sense of peace, or, you know, there's very often a kind of process that tends to unfold on a retreat. You know, the mind kind of dissolves to some extent very often. Some people it doesn't, so it's different. Dreams become brighter, more amplified. So it can be quite interesting and exciting. There could be symbolic insights. There can be, you know, all sorts of things to be seen with more clarity, maybe problems, all sorts of issues. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm totally in favor of those if that's what you want. I mean, it's a good thing to follow. You know, I'm not saying that leads to abiding awake, you know, awakening, because nothing seems to give rise to that, but you might get an inkling of it. A lot of people do. A lot of people get energetic experiences. A lot of people don't. So it depends really, but it's good if, you know, it's good to take time out sometimes, I think, for some people, and can be very restorative, give you some sense maybe. But yeah, there are just no guarantees with any of this stuff. And so
All right. Have you ever been on a retreat?
Yes, I have, but more with the friend who was kind of running them, more like that, not really in a normal sense, but yeah, it's really nice just to hang out in bliss in a retreat, or just sit around. No, yeah, emptiness. I really enjoyed it. It's good fun.
I
But
did
I think now if I was to
weekend.
choose, I'd rather have a city, like go to a city like I've never been to, because I'd prefer a bit more sort of life, normal life, than a retreat. That would be my retreat, would be, I don't know, Rome, Paris, something like that, maybe.
That's awesome.
It
Well,
depends what you need, you know, it's balance. For me, I would just see it as balance, like, you know, so a bit of novelty maybe, but for a lot of people, they just want to leave their normal responsibilities because you know, people worry about their houses, they worry about they're in their life, so they're somewhere else they don't need to worry about. You can leave stuff behind. It energetically, it's good, I think, for most people. But you know, if your life is quiet, go somewhere, have some fun. There's a like just I don't know.
yeah, I think there can be some breakthroughs and insights in retreats. We'll go to the next question. Dawn, if you're in physical pain, do you now, post-awakening, ever find that pain amusing rather than distressing?
No, I never find being amusing. Maybe some people do, but no, I find pain just kind of horrible, really. And yeah. I mean, maybe it's easier to be with that than before. Maybe it's less frightening in some ways, but pain is a pain. Like I've never seen it as amusing. No.
Would you say there's more distance from it? Or, you know, is there a little more space?
Not necessarily. I think just the fear has gone out of it. I think that maybe, and that's about it. I don't know. What about you?
No, I don't remember the last time I was in physical pain like that, but yeah, I think my response is pretty much the same as it always was.
Yeah, I had some yesterday. It was a pain. It was a pain in the arse. Like, it's really fucking annoying. But yeah.
All right. Walter, can you ask Dawn what her thoughts are on people who believe they will never be ready, that they have to meditate, align their chakras, purge themselves of their sins, or have, it's talking about enemas and everything else. I don't know.
Well, I wasn't ready in that sense. I wasn't evolved in any spiritual sense, in any psychological sense. You know, they say that about, yeah, awakening. Some people say that about awakening. They also say about Kundalini. I wasn't ready for that. Did it make a difference? No, it didn't. Not in my case. So awakening is stepping into sanity. Repercussions, no, none. Kundalini awakening, no repercussions, no, oh, I wish I had meditated first. None of that. That was all. Some people experience problems afterwards, but mostly with like Kundalini. I don't think it's that common with awakening, you know, that I know of, but because it is just the peace. I mean, you don't really, I mean, there's no struggle with that, you know, like even if you feel ungrounded in some ways, or you're, you know, you're just totally open in a sense, like it doesn't matter because it's all just love, and it's all kind of embraced. It's all takes care of itself. It doesn't feel like it needs anything. That's my experience of it anyway. It doesn't, it does help. Okay, maybe it's nice to talk to someone about it to kind of, if you want some validation for that, or just to kind of know what's going on, because there does seem to be a need to communicate about it if you can. Maybe not everyone, but just to be able to, like any change, like just to be able to kind of understand it maybe in a more normal way as well. So that, I guess that's why people have one-to-ones very often after they've just woken up, just to share it with somebody who kind of gets it, because like any massive kind of insight, you kind of you want that, you know, there's a kind of need to share because there's an evolution there, you know, but otherwise it's, you know, it's unlikely you're going to struggle with that, I would have thought. But you could have trauma with a Kundalini awakening. That's different, I suppose. I mean, you could have repressed memories coming up that could be disturbing, in which case you'd probably want to talk about that. I don't know how common that is, but it is a thing. It's not something I encountered, but yeah, it's all good.
Oh, Kim Roberts, do you have a question? No? Okay. Don, did some sort of personal crisis precede your awakening? Do you think it was causative?
In the story of time, it was, in a sense, but of course, I mean, it's not that, because nothing's happening, so that's what's seen. So I could make a story around that it was caused by suffering, and you know, like, you know, at that sort of real edge point of breakdown, breakthrough, which turned to a breakthrough, really, in my case. So yeah, you could definitely make a story of it, but that's the seeing. The seeing is nothing happened, nothing ever happened. So in a sense, it depends what way you want to look at it, really. But nothing brings this about because there's no one to bring this about. That's the seeing too. There's no one here who could possibly wake up. So that's a fundamental insight. And because awakeness is already the case, and something like that. Like,
All right. Okay, they're asking me who my favorite non-duality interviewee was. I'd have to say Don Garland, of course. And we have people in the Zoom. If anybody in the Zoom wants to ask questions, feel free to unmute yourself. So what is a true being?
the hell is that?
Like to realize your true being.
It's just a way of putting it, isn't it? To realize that you're not this, that there's no division, because there's nothing to realize in a sense. I mean, it's the end of that, and it's not like there's another identity waiting for you, because it's the end of all identification, all identity. So there's not a being to realize in that sense, but people put it in that way sometimes because there's a sense of beingness, there's a sense of being alive, there's love, and it's all very juicy, but it's not, yeah, there's no identity in that. It's just the end of all that. So, which is great, which is very good.
Oh, looks like we got something in the chat here. Oh, just hearts. Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay. How about awareness? Does that resonate with you? Our true being as awareness or presence or something like that?
Not really. You know, I mean, that's all. Nobody uses that anymore, do they? It's like, you're not allowed to say awareness. The
Oh,
awareness.
they do. No, we had a whole hour and a half earlier of awareness. So I just,
All right. Okay.
I'm bringing it back around here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't feel the need to. I don't think I use any of those words. Well, maybe I mention presence sometimes. Beingness. Love is all the same thing, really. But it really can be confusing, and I think even when you just wake up, even that can confuse you. Or think, what the hell, you know? It can be sort of reified and made into a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the question about the true being is like, a true nature. Do we have is there an essence of what and who we are?
Well, there's love, isn't there? I mean, the only, only on really on a human level is there true being. Well, I sort of think of the authentic self, but beyond that, there isn't. I mean, just love. I mean, that's, if there's any essence, it's that, and that's everything, and that's what you are, and that's. But it's not an identity, is it? It's just, and it's seen, and it's seen. So that's the intimacy with life as well, and the innocence in life as well is that also. So everything is seen as, everything is accepted. It's radical acceptance of everything in that as well, and because no one's chosen that, so the judgment falls away, not on a human level, but on one level it does, and obviously judgment goes on for the human being, the parent human being who lives their life. It goes, no, that's not okay, or yes, that's okay, or whatever. But what about you?
Well, certainly not my true being or anything that would, because there's no separation. So there's only, I don't know, the words seem silly, but if you want to call it awareness, there's only awareness, but there's no personal awareness.
Well,
So it's not my true nature. It's just all there is.
Well, I like to talk about personal awareness, being aware of, and I think Tim Freak puts it that way, becoming aware of more. There's always stuff you're not aware of, and because it is only really personal, as in what you're aware of, what you're not, becoming more conscious. This is an increase in consciousness as well on a human level. It's because the mind is no longer in the way. So you're becoming more aware of what's going on internally and externally on a human level. And so, that word makes sense to me, and that I don't use it in terms of like, there is only awareness. I would never say that. But yeah, the more you try to simplify this, sometimes I think the more it baffles people as well. So there's no way out of that, I guess.
Yeah.
My hand will go up.
Oh, Betty, go ahead. Betty.
Okay, hi. Hi, you guys. No, I don't know why. Oh, there the hand went up. I was trying to get the hand up. It wasn't going up. But this sounds, I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was catching the end at the when you were talking to Howard the other day.
Mhm.
And I don't know, he was going, first of all, I missed like half of it because it goes over my head. You'd have to be a scientist to understand what he's saying. And I see, Walter, you're always trying to bring him back, but he goes, shh. So the next time I'm going to have to be like on the Zoom so I can like say, wait, what's going on, Howard, Anyway, no, he was talking about something like, well, in the non-dual talk, there's not two. And there's a lack of opposites. And in the dual world, you live in the world of opposites. But occasionally you're in the non-dual. The opposites are occurring simultaneously, but it's kind of like few and far between, but I'm always looking for it, like the sun is out, but it's raining. The dark cloud comes, but yet there's a streak of light coming through. You're crying, you're so sad, but at the same time you're happy because, you know, we all know these things, you know, when when the opposites are merging. And when I said, you know, I make comments. I don't even know why I make comments. After I make the comments, I go through this whole thing like, why did you make that comment? You know, and I start processing. That's just the nature of, you know, how this mind. So when I made the comment, I forget, it was last week, and I was like, you know, Walter, does your tip jar have to be any smaller or harder to find? You know, because when I go to these non-dual things, like right away before the meeting even starts, you know, donate here, buy me a cup of coffee, which is understandable. That's not what I'm making the assumption about, or the whatever. But it was like, I went through this whole process, like, well, maybe it was good because maybe somebody else couldn't find his tip jar, you know, then maybe it's good you made that comment. But then, oh no, maybe it was bad because somebody's going to be like, oh, Walter thinks he's this holier than holy that doesn't have to put it out there on the first page, you know, whatever. So, you know, it's just because, you know, I'm in duality. I'm totally in duality. It's like all the time there's the other, you know, for whatever reason. But I just think that's like really a lot of fun when they merge in just the everyday. And that's all I had to say. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What did you think about the tip jar?
Oh, your comment?
Yes.
I don't know. Should I make it? I don't know how to make it bigger.
Okay. All right. Whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not like opposites disappear either. Like in oneness, there's no opposites, but you still experience love and hate on an individual level and all of that. I mean, and then the beauty that has no opposite is the perfection of it. I mean, but you can't live that. I mean, that's the key. I mean, you can't in duality, but that's just there, but it's a different, it's the paradoxical thing as well. It's true and it's not true. I mean, it's real and it's not real. The whole thing, which you've had a glimpse yourself, you probably know, like, because life is still like that, right? I mean, the conflicts and everything else that we do have living through life, and you can't square the circle on anything in this life. I mean, there's very little that you can, because it's impossible. Everything feels in Maya, like it just does. This world is set up to frustrate. Like, it just seems set up that way. Like sometimes it seems like you're given what you want, but there's always something with that's just impossible. And yeah, so, but yeah, beyond that, like, it's just so simple, isn't it? It's just the oneness, just the love, just the perfection, just the beauty and the stillness and the peace, but everything else arises in that, and in this life, it's finally livable, but it doesn't make it easy. Like, it just doesn't.
Well, it's just like, it's surprising, you know, it's just surprising because, like, you know, say you expect something to, you know, it's going to be so hard, I've got to endure, and then, wow, it's easy, you know, like the love, the hate thing, you know, I love autumn here. I love the leaves. Oh my God, there's nothing like the colors. But then you got to go out and you got to rake them and you got to get them stuck into these little brown bags. And, you know, you hate that part, you know, and like that love hate is like really intense. I mean, you know, I don't have any children, so I wouldn't, you know, but, you know, in relationship, there's been, you know, in relationship, there's that can come up at any point in time. I don't know if it comes up for a parent. I have no idea. I was thinking about that earlier when I was thinking about this whole thing. I thought, gee, I wonder if a parent gets into this, oh, I love that kid, my firstborn or whatever. And then at some point, like, you know, the kid goes and wrecks the car or something. I hate, you know, I don't know. I don't know, because it's happened in relationship, usually in, you know, the male-female relationship. Yeah, I think it's happened woman to woman with me too. Yeah. And it's really kind of, I mean, the leaves thing is okay, you know, so, but when it's in relationship, it's kind of offsetting in a way for the me, for the psyche or whatever, like, oh, damn, I'm hating that person like that, but I love them, you know, it's quite pathological. I don't know how else to address it.
Well, it's natural. I mean, it's natural, isn't it? I mean, Melanie Klein talks about that with, you know, the newborn, like the mother will have murderous feelings towards her newborn, you know, crying. I mean, attaining that, I mean, and in relationship, whether there's a parent me here or not, like you're rubbing up against each other. It's never, you know, there are going to be problems, going to be difficult because it's two different, you know, it's two different countries coming together, really. Like it will have its difficulties. Okay, with the seeing and this, it makes things smoother in a sense, but
yes,
it does not make it easy, like, you know, because life's just not like that, right? It's just isn't. And yeah, feelings of hate. I mean, that's the body, that's the truth of the body. And you know, if you get stuck in the morality of like that's wrong, you know, then you're adding further punishment to the body. The body doesn't like that, you know. At least you recognize it and it's okay that feeling's there because it's there, and that you can't argue with that. I think there's just the acceptance of that. Something can arise in the moment, maybe it'll pass through quicker, so you're not stuck in that. And you know, but there's no real struggle with that, and there's no real pushing that away, because, well, why wouldn't it be there if, you know, someone, I don't know, fucks up your car or whatever? Like, it's just not so right. Even if it's irrational, we have those feelings, and it's just, life goes on like that. It just does.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't spend so long suffering over it or in it, but yeah.
And maybe this, you know, trying, you know, maybe experiencing whatever in the oneness, it, like you said, it might make it just like bearable. Or, you know, you don't cut off the relationship at the first feeling of hatred, you know. I don't know. I don't know.
It's natural. It's just natural. It's just, I think, seen for what it is. I mean, that's just a natural response like anything else. Like, you feel, you know, but the, you know, the peace is there at the same time, but like you might feel angry or sad or whatever else is coming up. And but yeah, I guess the shoots and oughts around that maybe fall away more, because it's just a whole human being, isn't it? And I mean, some people have to work on that as well, because if they're a doormat or whatever, they're allowed certain feelings, you know. And the more you can more you can recognize in yourself. I mean, if you can be in touch with that, that's good. And you know that you feel that. That's, I mean, that's just, it's information, isn't it? It's information. If it doesn't send you into overwhelm, which is really, no, it's not great either. Like, but that's just what's happening. You know, we all have pockets
Yeah.
of trauma as well, don't we? So, you know, but yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Dawn.
Betty. And to address your question about Howard and my conversation, see, it's difficult to describe because, you know, I always say nothing is, period. But our subjective world of experience is a projection of mind. And there isn't actually a mechanism. There isn't actually projection of mind. There isn't actually mind. There isn't, you know, none of that is true. It's a metaphor. It's just a way of pointing to something that, you know, like a lot of the things you said about, I don't know, me being holier, that's all projection. And so there's no independent existence. There's no independent reality. There's no objective reality. There's only, you know, your world, apparent world that you're projecting, and it's being reflected back to you. You know? So in other words, if you think somebody's special, then they appear special to you. And that seems real and true. But, and you can't see that, you know, it all came from your own projections. And until you withdraw those projections and realize that nothing is, there is no truth or independent reality apart from what you think, apart from thought. Now, that's all. If you can see through all that, like Howard, you know, then because he'll say everything I'm saying is bullshit and it's baseless claims, which he's right. But this is the real and the unreal. This is the absolute and the relative. This is, and which are not two. It's like, you know, the dream.
Now you sound like Andrew. Is that what he was saying?
I probably do, because I agree with Andrew, because I can see both. You know, it's like he talks about the three mountains. You know, when mountains become mountains again, then you realize there's no separation between duality and non-duality. Like all the things you're describing. The leaves are beautiful, but you hate breaking them. You love your kid, but you hate when they smash the car. You know? It's all just arising from nothing.
I don't know. I think I have more work to do. I don't know. I really don't, you know, is this projection, mind projection? I don't know. I got to listen to a few more of your interviewees or whatever and take out some books again. I don't know. I did the whole thing is just mystery. I don't know at all. It's just totally unknowable if I'm projecting or what is really.
Oh, don't shut up then, you stupid woman.
What?
Whoa.
Hello?
Hey now. Kim Roberts.
Oh, go ahead, Kim.
You're coming in hot, Kim.
Sorry, I didn't even know I was on the bloody mute. I mean to be muted. Oh my, sorry, I do apologise. That's rude of me, isn't it?
You got a hot mic.
I might turn it off, please. I do apologise. Oh dear, what have I done now? Please forgive me.
Well, do you have a question, Kim?
No, I just sent you a message, Walter. It says, what an amazing revelation you've just said. Those words that just come out your mouth just blew me away.
Yeah. It's true.
And
Well,
then
it's
I
like
don't
some
mean-
people, go ahead. What, sorry?
And then I don't mean to be rude to this lady. I was thinking, well, she's going on and on and she ain't bloody listening. But I do apologise for being rude and but I didn't even know I wasn't muted. So that was really rude of me. I really, really apologise. But
Oh, don't
Walter's
worry.
just blew my mind with what he's just said. And I'm saying, why is this woman going on and on? She's not listening to Walter and he's just given us some gold bars. What he's just said, it's worth more than £1 million. Oh my God. Thanks, sorry. I do apologise.
Well, it can be confusing, like with everything, like, because not everything on a human level is projection either, as in the sense of, you know, if I'm sat with a client, say, and they've been through narcissistic abuse, if I sit there and go, you're projecting your anger on so, you know, on that relative level, sometimes someone they're talking about as an asshole is because they're just an asshole. So it can be really confusing, this stuff, and those two, you know, the oneness and the human experience, because sometimes, you know, it's not, you know, if you're with a therapist who sees everything as projection, you're going to repeat your pattern forever and ever and ever, and that's not going to help. So I'm just sort of bringing it back to that as well. It can be sometimes not that helpful, because I mean we have real relationships, and to recognize a projection, yes, of course you need to have experienced something yourself, but in that case where something's toxic or whatever, it's sometimes just from outside. So in that sense, it makes sense to talk about it in a different way. I'm just sort of bringing it back to that a bit because of my own experience, and because that's, you know, confusing sometimes. So, and yeah, I mean, that's, non-duality can confuse the personal issues, I think, you know, and make sometimes end up with people feeling quite stuck as well, because their issues don't seem so important somehow because of the description of this. As you know, as everybody knows, really, like, the description becomes prescription, and people try to imitate the message because it's kind of compulsive. We see an ideal, we try to be that. If we perceive an ideal, we try to be that. It's just natural, you know. But it's all bullshit, really, in one sense, everything that's said about this. So all it really matters is your life, because you can't make this happen, and life goes on anyway. So the same things have to be worked out, the same things have to be negotiated. Anyway, it's just like, because life's tough, you know.
Dawn.
Huh?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, I'm not sure, because sometimes this thing breaks up, and like just now you were breaking up a bit. But, you know, you were talking about your realization and, you know, like there's no identity. But I've heard other speakers talk about, you know, no identity and no experience. I just can't wrap my head around no experience.
It's probably because on one level nothing's happening, but on another, you know, that's the
core.
Yeah, but experience is going on. So, but it's simultaneously
Nothing's
it's not.
happening. Yeah.
So if you forget about the oneness, you know, the human experience here goes on. So I'm experiencing sitting in this chair and talking to you, and at the same time, there's the knowing that there's nothing happening. That this is just there's a nothing and the everything, and so this is appearing, but ultimately there's nothing happening. Do you know, like, so?
Yeah.
That's the sort of
So that's sort of, yeah. Oh, well, that's very simple then. Thank you. Because there's many people with no experience and,
Well, that sounds really horrible. I mean, if there was no experience, I mean, who would want, see that's why,
who would want that?
but that's it. So you posit this ideal and people want it no matter how shit it sounds. So like what are you projecting onto? Like who wants no experience?
Yeah. I
don't want that.
I asked somebody about like difficulty in relationship. There are no others. There's no relationship. But wait a minute, don't you sit down to dinner with your wife? A lot of it is just, so you explained it perfectly. There's no experience, nothing's happening in the world, nothing happening.
It's both. It's always both.
World.
Yeah, it's always both. It's really quite normal. Like life just goes on. But yeah, it's just that the experience of that life is altered somewhat, and not the experience itself, but just there's no one in here. Like it's just energetic. That's all it is. It's
Yeah. It's just energy. It's just energetic. It's an energetic shift.
But if you can project onto that, like, so you can actually seduce someone to want something that's pretty horrible, right? I mean, it's kind of terrifying. I think, it's like, I mean, I think it said before, like the Emperor's New Clothes, the child points out who the Emperor's wearing. Because
that's what it's like. But then why? I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Why do I turn these things on? Is it just because, because there's a whole lot of other stuff to do, like clean the house, rake the why? What? They talk about a resonance. What is it? I don't get it. And then I think, why are you here? Why,
I think anyone at the front of a room seems like they're coming out with something that must be true as well. Like, and even as life goes on after awakening, it's like, there's something of authority, right? Somebody's speaking, they must know something. They must do. I mean, it's, even though on one level, that's bullshit, because actually they don't, really, most people don't. So it's, it's a total projection, really. But some people say, why would you want this? But anyway, we want the peace, right? People want the peace. I mean, that's natural. Who wants to be in the mind all the time? But there are aspects of it aren't. I mean, initially the kind of disappearance of the person, the seeing of emptiness on its own isn't particularly pleasant. It's easier, but it's not particularly pleasant, I wouldn't say.
No. And I think in my case in particular, it was just trying to have somebody give an explanation for the disappearance. So I became, that made me attracted to listen, because nobody's here, nobody's there, nobody's anyplace. So I guess, I wanted somebody to give some kind of confirmation about that. I don't know. I don't know, but like I said, whatever. I keep waiting to find that one speaker besides Walter and you that, I could just stay to one and not do this like, oh, well, he said something. Oh, wow, what, she said, these are kind of like, almost like when in the days of the guru, when you'd be sampling to see which one hit the heart, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's kind of strange.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find any difference in a conversation between me and someone I know very well who's awake in any other conversation. Life just goes on as normal, and
Yeah.
it is just, and that speaks volumes, I think, because the projection is that there is a difference, right?
Yes.
Somehow that wisdom, or like, and it isn't really a wisdom. It sounds like wisdom is a thing, but actually it isn't. Nothing and everything. I mean, these mystical sayings, I mean, it's actually a literal description. It's like saying, oh, well, there's a table there. Oh, wow, like what an insight. Like, but it's so, it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't,
No.
any way that could possibly make you special at all. And like I say, some people are more loving than others anyway, and some people are just genuinely quite peaceful, and project onto them. But like, I don't know, like people have ideas, and that's the same like art or something like that. We like a Van Gogh or something because, but we need to know what is that before we say we like it. And it's the associations around art, a piece of art, that make us like it, isn't it? Mostly, sometimes we're just drawn to something, but we're scared. I mean, most of us who are not trained in art are scared to say we like something. We need to know that it's okay to like it, or like the mind is just full of doubts. We're trained what to project onto and what not to project onto, and it's all,
Yes.
really like in
Yeah.
a way, in another small sense, it isn't like, but
Yeah. We're trained almost to what we like, our likes and dislikes. Yeah. 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 There's one speaker, he's non-dual, and he always responds in poetry form mostly.
oh no.
I find that I like that. I'm like, I got something out of it.
Right, okay.
I like to hear a little poetry throughout it, whatever. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. I can't hear any more Rumi quotes. If I hear any Rumi, I don't know. It makes me cringe a bit. Like, I like my favorite poet is Arthur Rimbaud. I like him, but
Rimbaud, yeah. I don't really know his stuff. I don't really know Rumi either. No, the guy is pretty original. Like he'll take what's that thing? Nothing is happening. He did a whole discourse on nothing is happening.
oh right, okay.
I was like, I still don't know nothing's happening, but I like the poetry.
No. I think I like anything that's got the shadow in it. So maybe that's why I like Rimbaud, the innocence of the child, the child genius. He was writing the most amazing poetry at like 9, 10. But it's got darkness, it's got light, it's got existential angst, it's tormented, it's beautiful, and it's it's just alive. I don't really like this holy stuff. And it's just not real. It's not life to me. It's not the whole. I want to see all of it, the color, the different shades, and
I like what is that? Although I haven't watched it recently, anime. Is it called anime?
all right.
The Japanese, there's it looks like it's for children, but there's always a dark side and the light side, and I don't know. There's just something in that sometimes that I'm like, wow, really hits home.
There's permission in that, and we can all identify with that. Like, where just the light is all we can do is project onto that, and nobody is that. It's not real. It's not. It's beautiful when you're seeking. I mean, there's nothing better than a Rumi quote. Like, it's like, wow, it's intoxicating. You can get lost in that. Tagore and all those guys. I mean, it's just, and you're like, oh, what a trick. Like,
What a trick. Yeah. Well,
but it is beautiful in its own way too. I shouldn't just totally throw it out. Like, it's not, but it's not that I read poetry anymore. I don't really read poetry anymore. I used to, but if I did pick up a book, it would be Rimbaud.
I don't know what's going on. I really don't, I mostly I don't watch TV because there's just too much to do. It's just like, oh my God, you got so much work to do. And it's hard. But I when I sit down at night and I put on Netflix, lately it's just comedy. I mean,
Right, okay.
I don't know why. It's just like, I start watching a movie and I'm like, this is boring. And, oh, look, the Chris Rock outrageous or whatever. I don't know. And then I laughed. And then I saw an article, was it this morning on Google from CNN, and they were like, comedy, it does all this stuff, like it releases serotonin in the brain, and the neurotransmitters start, attaching and I was like, oh, well, that explains.
Sounds good.
I'm waiting for it to end. I'm really waiting for that to end, because I used to really enjoy a good movie now and then. But, listen, I'm not going to list them all. But they are funny. They are really hysterical. Jim Gaffigan, oh God. When he does the pale tourist, and he does Canada, the different provinces in Canada, it's hysterical. And the people are hysterical laughing because, it's their home, and it's, he's making fun of it, but they're recognizing, yeah, that was a, cracked up thing to do, It's just it's hysterical. And so that's I don't know why I'm there, but anyway.
Enjoy it.
I enjoy it so much. Yeah. And it just started recently.
All right.
After a long weekend with Jim Newman.
Right, okay.
I'm not lying. This is not a lie.
Okay. Well, maybe they're
Really?
not the only one. I don't know. Maybe they're all watching.
I don't know what happened. If I'm not laughing, it's gotta be. Oh, all right. Well, it's good talking to you. And Walter, anyway.
Good
Thanks.
talking to you too. Thank you, Betty.
Oh, the other thing, the Betty, does that seem a little bizarre? I hope not. Every time I went to a channel, there were so many Catherines and Katrinas and whatever. I never knew if it was my turn to talk or not. So that's why I went to Betty. Okay.
All right, Kathy. Thank you. So I have a lot of comments in the chat, not a lot of questions. If you could put them in question form, it would be helpful. But anyway, many people think no experience sounds amazing because suffering happens sometimes with experience. Love your explanation of this, Dawn. So yeah, people like your explanation of no experience. Playing hide and seek seems like some seekers are actually trying to hide from the truth of their reality in the guise of seeking rather than genuinely looking for the truth of reality. And no experience appeals to them. I don't know.
Truth of reality. Well, truth, it's not about truth, is it? Truth is to do with language, isn't it? It's not about what's true or what's false. I mean, it's just what is. No, I'm just making things even more complicated. But yeah, I'm not sure what that was aiming at, but yeah, can't remember.
John, can you just take over the meeting for 2 minutes
Yeah,
or
sure.
less? 1 minute. I'll be right back. Okay. If anybody has any questions, just jump right in. Don will be happy to answer your questions.
Very happy. Very happy. Anyone with any questions? That's fine. We'll just meditate.
Let's eye gaze.
All right. I can't see you, otherwise I would eye gaze.
I know some fellow that I used to listen to, he's not around anymore, or he's somewhere else that I don't go to. And he used to do this eye gazing. And I mean, it was really weird. It was because I'm on a little tiny telephone here.
Right.
And yet, you know, and he wouldn't be like sitting like you are doing the eye, like maybe he'd be walking, you know, around, I don't know where, in the woods or whatever. You go, we're going to do eye gazing now. And damn, if that didn't work, I was like, whoa.
Was it powerful for you then, or?
Yeah, it was like really powerful.
Yeah,
But
it's either powerful or creepy, you know, it's one of the others. It depends who you're doing the gazing with. I mean, there's not everybody's eyes you want to gaze into, I think, as well.
yeah.
Because I remember once doing that in a ceremony, and yeah, I mean, but it's interesting. I mean, for me, I drop in that, I do, but again, I mean, some people it's nicer to gaze in their eyes than others.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't enough for me to follow him on Instagram though, so.
Polly does it on screen as well, doesn't he? And it's quite powerful, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I never expected it on a little tiny telephone to, like, you know, really feel the power of the gaze. It was just amazing, I thought. But, you know, I guess, you know, maybe it was projection. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe that was projection. I don't even know. But I did feel there was some energy that was going on.
Oh yeah, it can be transpersonal, or it can be just, I mean, the gaze is never neutral anyway, because it has an effect on on the nervous system, doesn't it? So it shuts down the thinking mind. I mean,
Okay.
it does have real effects. It's not like it doesn't. And of course, some people can't find eye contact really difficult, don't they? So they say when you've got a secure attachment, when you're, you know, you've had quite, you know, caring enough parents, whatever, there's more eye contact generally anyway, but some people aren't so good at that. But yeah, it can just knock you out of, I mean, that's what you do when you fall in love, don't you? Well, some people do, not everybody does, but like there's something about the gaze, isn't there? Just, and there's a kind of merging in that. It's subtle, isn't it? But it's, yeah, powerful. It remains powerful for me. I think it is. It's a Sufi technique. I think it's other techniques as well. So,
but I'd have to, like, you know, they'd have to research, you know, if it weren't a lover, I'd have to research who to do the gazing with, because, you know, I guess there's a lot of, you know, flakes out there, you know. You want to eye gaze with me? No.
I think that's how Rumi was supposed to have woken up, I think, with his teacher Shams. Was it Shams? I can't remember. Anyway, they spent I think a month together in a room and did the gazing thing.
Oh wow. Wow.
But I maybe I've got that wrong, but I think it's something like that. Like, but it can blast you open. It can do. I mean, I'm not saying it's like, I know Tim Freak uses that method, and he says a lot of people have glimpses. So I don't know if It can make you fall in love with someone who's totally unsuitable as well.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess meditation can bring it about too. The same kind of feeling, intense, a deep meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
You go there. Yeah.
Or else it brings up a lot of shit. For some people, if they haven't sat still, all the emotions come up, don't they, as well? So
I just love it. I don't know. I kind of love it. It's whether they come up or they don't come up. It's like the only time that there's real peace.
oh, you do get that? I mean, is that quite common for you when you sit then in meditation?
What the all the shit coming up or the
No,
peace?
the peace.
Oh, the peace. Yeah, absolutely. The peace. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
And I don't make it's not a practice. So, it's not a practice, but sometimes then if you haven't for 2 or 3 days, you start to miss it, and then you say, oh, why am I missing that? Why, there's something, I don't know, there's just something there that can't be, for me, actualized at any other time.
Okay.
I know, people say, oh, reading Rumi or listening to Bach, there's, I've never been able to access that any other way. Walking in the woods, maybe, just not that intensity.
Okay. But it's good to give yourself that permission as well, like, to make it into a thing, isn't it, as well? Just that sitting, even after awakening, it's just permission for a timeout as well. Like, there's something about that. It could be really powerful. I think that's why doing a meditation with someone else is even more powerful very often, because it's just, there's nothing else you can do at that moment. And I think you can really drop in that. I mean, I've always found group meditations or 2 people doing it's much deeper from my experience, but
I haven't done it with anybody else in quite some time, a long time,
okay.
long time. No, I haven't done it, but yeah, open to it. It's funny when I talk to the radical people, who's meditating? What are you meditating for? What? It's like, what are you just sitting and staring at a wall? There is a kind of I don't know, like, a taboo. I don't know how to say it, or against maybe meditation, or I think you've used the word heartfelt prayer.
Yeah,
Have you?
I have.
Yeah.
But some things can minimize it. I mean, that's it. What are you meditating for? I mean, it minimizes it, and then you want to do
exactly. Yes.
Actually, but I get insights during it that I would never ordinarily get. It can give you clarity on things. I mean, it's never mind what it's doing to the brain, chemistry, and so yeah, that's the difficulty with this stuff as well. And even say like it improves the prison, like whatever you can do to it makes you kind of want to do nothing. I can imagine hearing that and not wanting to do anything. What's the point? Because who wants a comfortable prison? Like, you just want, I don't know. Yeah, it's because you come back to this
you're trying to make the prison comfortable. Yeah, would be their stand about it. Yeah. And what's wrong with that? I mean,
but it's not.
I do have a hand raised and more questions coming. I'm sorry. We only got 15 minutes left. So I'll just ask this question in the chat and then we're going to go to Andy. Can this seeing affect personal relationships? It almost seems like there's more relaxed feeling, but when someone irritates me, I find it much easier to walk away. So they're asking, can the seeing of this affect personal relationships?
You've given it to me.
Yeah, I'm throwing it to you.
Okay. Well, like someone irritates you, you walk away. I mean, that sounds to me like sort of splitting, like, okay, I'm out, you know. I mean, it's more, for me, it's more about being able to be with that. Like, so you're irritated, you're aware of that, and maybe you're not acting out on that. You don't have to run away on that, or, you know, so it's more able to contain those emotions, maybe. You know, does it make it smoother? Yeah, it does. I mean, relationships, yeah, definitely, because things aren't held on to the same way. You're not functioning in the same way, for sure. I mean, for me, it made them possible. Possible. They hadn't been possible for 10 years, and then they were possible. Well, like I was, but a bit like this guy's saying, whoever is saying, you know, it was much more, you know, well, you know, not if it didn't like it, I'd get out, you know, rather than work through something, or, you know, I don't know, just be able to be with those uncomfortable feelings, I guess. It just makes things, yeah, it does make things easier, I suppose. Yeah, a lot more space, isn't there? So why wouldn't it depends who you're dating.
And yeah, I guess I just saw back to what I was saying earlier, that I was giving them a lot of qualities that maybe they didn't necessarily have.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of specialness, a lot of extra stuff, like you know, basically what I keep coming back to is without a thought, without all this emotional intoxication, you know, they're really not all as they're cracked up to be, you know, at the end of the day. So I kind of saw that, and it helps.
I think
know?
also, but if there's like narcissistic abuse, it can there, and you know, like a doormat, it can take a while to, because that projection onto the other is another kind of pedestal, isn't it? And so that takes a different kind of seeing through sometimes, to kind of the specialness that you perceive there that isn't there, like it's just not there. So that could survive, and does survive awakening as well. It can do. There can still be a tendency to make yourself small if that's what you've been doing, until that's seen through. So, you know, it's not always everything collapses. Like it's a different kind of addictive relationship until you know what you're doing. Like those patterns that continue after awakening, that's one of them, can do, you know.
All right, Andy, jump right in, my friend. Oh, I can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi. I just want to say, Dawn and Betty, that chat that you were having went on for quite a while, was really nice to witness. What I was aware of was words. You were using words between each other. And it felt very human, and it felt very caring, and it was lovely to witness. But going back to just words, and I mean, Walter, at the beginning, you were saying it's difficult to explain, you know, the ineffable using words, but yet we try to do that. Everybody tries to do that. That seems to be the easiest, closest to hand medium we have for you guys to explain your message. But my question is, what other mediums would you consider using to convey your message?
Oh, other than words, well,
yeah, I mean, Dawn mentioned art earlier. I can get that. I see that. Music. You said poetry.
Yeah, even silence.
Silence, yeah.
I know, you know, Ramana Maharshi is famous for that. But personally, I don't have experience with sharing this in any other way.
Hugs. Amma, the hugging saint. Isn't it Amma?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
hugs. But we couldn't do that on Zoom.
But I do feel that just being in someone's presence, sometimes a lot can be conveyed. But I'm not going to go on Zoom and attempt that. I just try to use words and fail. But yeah, yeah, music, all kinds of stuff. Absolutely, art, any kind of expression. It's beautiful.
Dawn?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all expression, isn't it? Words heal, words mutilate, words have power, don't they? We cast spells. I mean, it's really powerful. You can't sit here staring like an idiot, like the gays. I mean, just look. I mean, it's just mental. And, unless you're Eckhart Tolle, do it for 10 seconds or something. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever it does it for you. Music, like Betty said, music doesn't do it for her. I mean, it's a medium, right? It's a medium, so it's as removed and as little removed and as much removed as anything else. Whatever speaks to you. I like words. I mean, I just like language. For me, it's just natural. And anyway, when you talk about your own experience, you can put words to that more or less. I mean, okay, mystical sayings can't be translated. That's true. Not really. You can paraphrase, but because the paradox is beyond the mind anyway, that nothing and everything and no location and all these things, they have to be experienced, don't they? But so what? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Don, what do you think about Shaktipat, this transmission?
I do wonder if there's something around a kind of expectation and someone doing that. Sometimes people the odd person will have an opening with that too. I think in Muktananda's ashram, there used to be lots of people having Kundalini experience left, right, and center. I don't know how real that was. Seemed pretty real to me, but I don't know. So he went around with his peacock feathers, didn't he? Because there is that heightened energy that's in a room full of people kind of excited about that. And I think there is something to that energy sometimes that sparks something. I'm not saying, the collapse of time and space and, but certainly it can give rise to stuff for sure. Shaktipat, do people still do? I guess they do, but it's probably not so in as it was. I don't know, probably still in.
My previous guest has that ability.
Honestly, I always question when somebody says they have that ability. I'd be like, I want to avoid you. But look, maybe they do. Maybe they really feel they do, or I don't know. I'm skeptical of all these things, but open at the same time. Maybe, who knows?
And John Troy, I asked him about that, the peacock feathers. He said it was like a hit of acid. So, yeah, it can be like an acid trip.
Or maybe just that slight shock as well, like the Zen koan, Jim, that the whole pointers, non-dual pointers. I mean, the shock to the mind, it seems like it can switch something sometimes as well, something unexpected that creates a pause. Maybe there's an energy in that sometimes for a few people, but it's for most people it doesn't do anything. I mean, but as long as there are a few people it affects, everybody's going to be lining up for it, right? Because that's the way it works.
Maybe make this our last question. Is there separation from body, mind after a glimpse of our true nature? A separation from body, mind. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you?
It's just you're not that. I mean, the identity falls away from that. So there's a mind and a body. There doesn't seem to be a body here at the same time. And say there's no weight to this or substance to this. It doesn't feel like there's anything here. I mean, it looks like there is, but there's no one in this or out there. There's just what's here. So it's not a separation from, which sounds more like a dissociation from, or maybe out of body experience, something like that, or just no location to being, I guess. I wouldn't call it a separation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no separation from body and mind. There's nothing to be separate from it. It's just, that's why I come back to this, no thing being everything. No thing being a body and mind, appearing as a body and mind, but appearing as walls and trees and tables and chairs. So there's nothing that feels separate from the body mind. Actually, it's more inclusive than that. It's yeah, I don't know. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank everyone for being here. And you can join us next week and every Monday at 2:00 Eastern Time for Not Just This. And next week, we've got Giselle Suarez at 12:00 Eastern Time. Join me for that, followed by this meeting, Not Just This. And Dawn?
Yeah, I've got
Sorry.
my talk in London next Friday, the 14th. If anyone wants to come to that, it's on the Meetup app. So just sign up or just come along. It's in the Philadelphia Association in Hampstead. So 7:00. Yeah, so I just plug that.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Go see Dawn in person. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Bye.